Would you love to know how to build your own cryptocurrency arbitrage tool? You build it yourself, you can customize it, you can have it do whatever you want, but you don't know what programming language to use, you don't know where to get the data from, you don't know how to set it up, you don't understand all the technical bits, ins and outs. Well, I built CryptoWizards, and frankly, CryptoWizards does work. Even though the market right now is dead and there are very few opportunities, so I really don't recommend you sign up right now. But I built CryptoWizards and it works, and people write into me and they're like, this actually works. And there's a reason for it. There's a structure I followed, and I did get lost when doing this. I got lost in all sorts of forums. I got lost on all sorts of expert opinions that turned out to be completely wrong. And I finally figured out what works. And so, if you're somebody who sees a lot of value like I do in building these tools because they make money, then you're going to absolutely love this video. So stick around, because we're going to teach you how to be the Raphael of arbitrage building. By the way, when I grew up, I absolutely loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I went to ArtStation, and Jacob and Tim, they've got some illustrations I'm going to take you through over here. But I used to love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid, so I just wanted an excuse to feature them in this video. Anyway, let's get into the point. How do you DIY and build your own arbitrage or cryptocurrency price scanning tool? I'm going to give you the blueprint for that right now. What is the coding? What are the programming languages that you need to know? What's the cost of it? And where do you get your data from? So we're going to go through all of that right now in this video. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about how arbitrage actually works. We've got exchange A and we've got exchange B, and we're just going to talk about exchange transfer arbitrage right now. And we want to transfer a coin from exchange A to exchange B and sell it for more money. So what do we need to know in order to do that? Well, we need to know, what does it cost us to acquire that coin on exchange A, and what can we sell it for on exchange B, and what we're hoping for is we can sell it for more. And then this gap we take as our profit. So in theory, that's all perfect, but there are a lot of challenges when it comes to actually building this. So for example, how do you know what the prices are? And how often can you have an algorithm check those prices? And what if you want to check it on more than 2 exchanges? What if you just want one exchange? Maybe you just want one exchange where you're doing triangular arbitrage. And triangular arbitrage, as a lot of you who've been following this channel will know, is where you can buy a coin, sell it for another coin, sell it back to a different coin, and buy back the original coin. And through going around that loop, you actually take a small profit out of that. You do that enough times a day, and you're doing what the banks are doing in foreign exchange. You're making money. So maybe you only want one exchange. Maybe you want lots of exchanges. So CryptoWizards, we scan 20 exchanges. We have 20 different exchanges. And on the smart contract arbitrage, we only use 2 or 3 because there's fundamentally one exchange that works for that. So you've got all these exchanges as well. So the first thing you need to decide is, what do I want to build? Do I want to trade triangular arbitrage or some other algorithm? Or do I want to do exchange transfer arbitrage? If so, how many exchanges do I need? And the reason why you need to decide that is because that's going to tell you where you want to get your data from. So this is what's going to tell you, okay, I'm going to need a data provider because I need 20 different exchanges. So for example, if you wanted to have access to the amount of data that CryptoWizards does, it would cost you about $800 a month. I think between $500 to $800, depending on the deal that you strike, and how much you want and how many hits you want, etc. So that's probably what it would end up costing you. And so you can use a few data sources for that. A free data source is CryptoCompare. So CryptoCompare is a free data source, but there's a reason why I don't use a free data source, number one. And with free and paid, there's certain advantages and disadvantages, but there's also a paid for version for CryptoCompare. You can also do CoinMarketCap. CoinMarketCap provide data, or you can use CoinAPI. Now I use CoinAPI because they specialized, and their customer service has been really good. So I use them. And by the way, I'm not paid here. Sorry about my writing here. I'm not paid to recommend CoinAPI. That's just who I use for CryptoWizards because I get the best results with them. So I've tested, I've looked. So you need to decide, where do you want to get this from? Now, my recommendation is when you're building out your arbitrage tool, don't pay for anything. So just get access to, the free version on one of these platforms. I'm not actually sure if CoinMarketCap still does a free version. I don't think they do, but maybe they do. You know, just get access to a free version so that you learn the programming. There's no point in paying for something, you know, that's not making you money. You want to pay for something that's going to yield a return, or at least to break even. So for many, many, many months, I was actually losing money on Crypto Wizards. And, you know, a lot of that was because I was deep into development, trying to build something that actually works and beats the competition. And finally we got there. And not that it was about competition, but no one was providing an arbitrage service out there that actually gave real opportunities, which is extraordinarily difficult to do in this market. And I think with SmartScan, we definitely cracked that. So you know, for me, it actually cost money. I had money going out for a while, but you don't have to have that. You can do this. You really can do this for free. So that's really what's going to cover the data. Now we need to think about, okay, now that I know where I'm going to get my data from, how to actually build this. You see, for me, I wanted a tool that updates every 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes, we have an updated picture of all of the arbitrage opportunities across 20 different exchanges on the Xscan arbitrage tool. And then on the SmartScan arbitrage tool, there's 3 exchanges. But again, I wanted all the opportunities updated every 5 minutes. Now to do that, bear in mind, you need to think about some maths here, because when you're doing that, what you're doing is you are pulling information for thousands of data points, because not only do you have the 20 exchanges, but you've got each coin on that exchange as well. And then what you have to do is compare that from that coin, from all those coins on that exchange, to all the coins on the next exchange, to all the coins on the next exchange, etc. And once you've got that comparison, what you want to do is you want to find, okay, where are the arbitrage opportunities? In other words, if I'm going to place market orders, then I'm literally going to be buying at the ask. So I'm getting the worst price because I'm getting it immediate. So I'm buying at the ask. So you need the ask to be less than the bid, not on that one particular exchange. But if the ask here is, you know, I'm just going to use dollars, is $10, then you need to be able to sell at the bid at $11 or whatever it's going to be on a different exchange. So that's the comparison that you need to do with the data. So that's in theory how you would build a transfer arbitrage type of product. With triangular arbitrage, obviously there's a lot more to it. And by the way, I won't get into detail in this video because I could do a whole course on this, like a whole full-on course on how to do that. And if that's something you guys actually want, just, you know what, if you want a whole course on how to build your own arbitrage tool, I can pull that together, but I'll need beta testers for that course. So Corey, by the way, this video is dedicated to you. Thank you for your email. You know, we could do that and you could learn about triangular arbitrage and how to code it, or exchange transfer arbitrage and how to code it. So with no programming knowledge, you would understand just what you need to do. And actually thinking about it, you know, having a goal to build something is the best way to learn coding. And actually, I want to get into the coding in a minute. And before we do that, let's just talk about the structure. You see, the way I recommend people to do this, because it's the way it works for Crypto Wizards, it's proven it works, is you make all of this web-based. So you have a domain, and that domain points to a web host. So what's a web host? A web host is just a bunch of servers that store website information. So your web host has a whole bunch of files on it, and that's what browsers read. Now, you don't necessarily need a browser like Firefox or Chrome or anything to read these files. Maybe this is just something in the back end. These are files that build an alert tool, something like that. But basically, you want to use a web host to do this. And I can recommend web host to you. You know, just put something in the comments like web host or beta course or whatever you want to put in. In fact, if you're interested in being a beta tester and learning programming and learning how to build a tool from scratch, just put this in the comments. Just put beta in the comments and I will build a beta course for you guys. It'll take me probably about 2 to 3 weeks of work. I'll do it live so that we're doing it together and we'll record it live and then we can publish the course afterwards. So let me know what you think about that. But that's what you need basically, is a host where you can save these files. Now, what do these files do? Well, these files are going to be your code. This is where you're going to put all your code. And I'm going to talk about the code in a minute. What do I mean by code? What's the programming, etc. Now, be prepared to pay, when you're starting out, be prepared to pay between $50 to $80 per month for hosting costs, because you're going to need an engine running here on your host. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But you need something that automatically goes and runs these files for you. And we call those cron jobs. So you need a cron system. This is a chronological system that tells each file how often to run and when to run. And so that means that you can have this tool working for you while you sleep. Like CryptoWizards runs for me all the time. And if something goes wrong, I get a notification saying something didn't run, and that can happen with data providers and whatever. It happens occasionally. But you have it just run on autopilot. And you can do this, by the way. What I'm teaching you here right now doesn't just apply to cryptocurrency and arbitrage. I've used this for building clients' websites to do special things, etc. Like there's all sorts of different services you can use, etc. But this is just very, very time tested and robust. You just use cron jobs. And that will actually run these files for you. Now, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the files, because how do you actually develop this now? Like, how do you actually code it? What programming languages do you use? So you need to think about it like this. If we go back here, you've got your domain, and your domain points to a web host. So we're going to make that a bit bigger now. So your domain points to your web host, and on your web host, you've got all sorts of different things saved on there. You've got all these website files, number one. So this is basically your website, or in this case, your code. And you've also got a number of other things. You've got the ability to run, you've got the ability to run cron jobs as well on there. So this is really what you're working within. So you've got your host over here, and on your host, you've got all the files saved that are automatically going to run for you. They're attached to this cron service over here. Now that really you're going to need for that hosting virtual private, a VPS service, virtual private managed hosting. So VPM actually could be a better way to put that, where you've got some dedicated space to run these files, because you're going to have a lot of data. You're going to be managing a lot of data. The other thing, and that's a good point, the other thing on your web host as well is you're going to have a database. And all the data that you're managing is going to get stored in tables on your database. And so that has to be managed as well. But now, how do you code that? Because really, the intellectual property or the value is in all of these files over here. So the code that's written in each of these files, that's really the value. That's what's going to make you money. That's the idea that you have that you want to put into action is actually in the code. The rest of this you can set up within about an hour. Like everything I've just shown you so far, other than actually writing the code, you can set up in about an hour. In terms of actually writing the code side, that's what takes months of work. CryptoWizards, we had version 1 and we had to really improve and develop that. Now we've got version 2, and undoubtedly we're going to be working on version 3, and actually you're going to be surprised by what's coming out for version 3. It's pretty exciting. And I didn't want to mention it in this video, but now I have, so might as well. So really, how do you code these files? That's the real question. Well, it depends what you want the file to do. So, let's talk about 3 different areas of coding. Let's talk about, what you see on the browser. So, what do you visually see and interact with? Like right now, I'm on a website. I can see this picture created by Jacob, and this is all front end. So how does that work? If I want to visually be able to see something or select something or hit trade or anything I want to interact with on the front end. And then the next question is on the back end, what do I want to have happening for me on autopilot? So, this is just something that runs on the actual server itself over here, and it deals with data and it does all sorts of things, because I don't want people to see that. I don't want them to have access to that. If they had access to that, they could steal all the IP, they could take all the opportunities, they could hack the system, they could do a lot of damage. So there's a lot of stuff you want running on the back end and not the front end. Now, when we're talking about the back end and the front end, we're already talking about specific programming languages over here. And, I say programming languages very loosely, because on the front end, really the structure of a website is written in something called HTML. And if you want me to do a video on how to build a website with HTML, you'll be shocked at how straightforward this is. And it's going to blow your mind. You know, just put HTML in the comments. Put this in the comments and I'll do a video on it. So you want HTML. This stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And this is how a browser actually knows where to show pictures, you know, where that picture's saved, where to structure things, where to put the text, the size of the text, all of that. The look and feel of that website is primarily built in HTML. Now, another language is JavaScript. And some people build websites front end and back end 100% all with JavaScript. And you know, I went on loads of courses learning JavaScript, getting really advanced with all of that and building full-on web applications with JavaScript. You know what, for this, like you can use JavaScript, but just use plugins that are built for you. I don't recommend learning like JavaScript to build a full-on web application, etc., unless you want to learn JavaScript. Like for me, JavaScript is actually more useful when you're building native mobile phone applications, etc. That's when you want to build a web application that you can deploy on iOS, on iPhones, on anything. That's when JavaScript becomes really useful. And by the way, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because I know a lot of people who are learning programming are all into React or, you know, Angular or Vue and all these different JavaScript libraries and frameworks. And that's totally cool. I have nothing against those, but we're talking about how to build an arbitrage scanner that makes you money. I just want robust stuff going on here. And you know, on the Crypto Wizards platform, there is JavaScript. Like when you click on a button and it automatically scrolls the page up for you and all that nice fancy stuff, or in the menu system, that's all JavaScript working. But that's the extent I use JavaScript to, is just to make using the platform feel good for you guys. So the only reason I ever bothered with JavaScript on Crypto Wizards was for you guys, so that it felt good for you and it felt like a modern website. But actually, I don't care about it. The other thing is CSS. So HTML decides the structure. CSS actually decides the font size, I should say, the color of the font, the size of the image, all of that stuff, you know, whether the box will be up here or down here. This is the styling, and CSS stands for Cascade Styling Sheet. So think of HTML as the markup language. It's the structure that the browser works within. CSS is actually the look and feel and the design. So from a front end, those are the programming languages that you need to know. And you don't need to know them in any depth. And this is why having a goal to build something is great, because you're going to learn only what you need to get to that result. Like you don't need to be an HTML expert to build Crypto Wizards. You really don't. Now on the back end, you can either use Python or you can use PHP. Now, Python is by far right now, I believe, the most popular programming language because you can use this for machine learning. It's very fast, etc., for analyzing data. Now, the reason I didn't use Python and I used PHP is, number one, I learned PHP because I learned to build websites like 13 years ago. And PHP is also what WordPress uses in the back end, etc. It's extremely time-tested. It's extremely robust. Crypto Wizards just works because it's built on this old school, solid, proven language over here, which is server-side language, which is PHP. So when I say server-side, I mean back-end. This runs on the servers where all these files are hosted and not in your browser. So that means that, you know, the information's secure, people don't see it, they can't steal anything like the API keys, and then they're basically getting the service I'm paying for free. All of that stuff that will cost me and the users a lot of money and headaches. So this is very, very secure, and actually so is Python. So Python I know for machine learning. I've been learning Python for machine learning, and actually once you learn one programming language, all of the rest makes sense. I don't really see HTML as a programming language, nor do I CSS. JavaScript is definitely a programming language. So that's really what I would look at. Now for me, if I was to teach a course, I would teach it in PHP, because that's what I know, and it really doesn't matter. You want to decide on what your goal is. So for example, if I was building a trading bot, I'd be using Python because there's advantages to doing that. If I'm building an algorithm that runs in the background to automatically check prices, etc., I just want something solid and robust that I know and feel comfortable with. So I'm using PHP. I don't really think it matters too much. But my recommendation is PHP. Look, I know it. I believe in it. It clearly works. It's tried and tested. So that's really how to think about it. Now, what are the next steps you need to do from here? Like, how do you become this ninja over here and build your arbitrage tool? Well, the first thing you want to do is just define your goal. So you just want to decide, what do you believe is going to work? You come up with a hypothesis of what your goal is. And you think, okay, I believe that I can build a tool that looks at RSI or that looks at stochastics or whatever it is you're looking at. And I wanted to, based on that, send out alerts. And you can write a cron job, as we spoke about earlier, to analyze, to run that file, which is saved on your web host. It runs that file, and in the code of that file, that code tells it to send out an email or a phone notification or whatever over to you to say trade. That's what you would program. That's how you actually think about it over here. So you need to decide on your goal, on what you want built. Now, I realize this is a very, very broad video. So all I'm going to ask here for now, before I go into any detail on any topics, what is it that I've covered here that you're most interested in learning? And let me help you with that. So just let me know. If you guys don't comment, I don't really know where you're stuck and what you need help with. So let me know ultimately what you'd like to learn how to do. Is it a mobile application? Is it a web application? Is it just an alert service? Are you looking to build trading algos? Let me know what you want to build so that I can help you guys. See you in the next video.